Okay, hi there and welcome in my next tutorial. This tutorial is gonna be about XNA, and it's gonna be first tutorial in XNA. In this tutorial I will teach you the basics of XNA, how it works, how it looks like, and what you can expect. One more thing I should add, that you should have XNA already installed. If you don't have it, just find some of my previous videos, and then there is where to download it, and if you install it you should have it like so: Visual C# and XNA Game Studio 4.0. So one more thing, to understand this it requires really quite advanced knowledge of C#. So you should be knowing how threads work, how variables of course work, methods, functions, enums, structures, yes, and basically the threads to understand this. So we select here Windows Game 4.0, and the name will be first XNA app. Oh, doesn't matter. So yes, this tutorial is for beginners in XNA, so people that know something about C#, obviously, but they want to learn XNA and they have no idea how to start. For example, I know only 2D, how to make 2D games and 2D stuff in XNA. I have no idea how to do 3D stuff. So if I would like to learn 3D, then I would watch video for 3D tutorial, and this is a 2D tutorial, so yes. I will explain what this is. You see that there is bunch of stuff here and as well as here. So now we are in game1.cs. This is basic class. This is generated for you to start. You've got here some comments to explain what is going on here, and so on. Here are properties, references, that's same. Content, references, yeah. There is icon, that is a icon of the game. Oh, it may be changed, but I don't really know yet how to do that. I didn't need it. There is a game1.cs. This is the basic class. This is game thumbnail. Well, I have no idea what it is. And then is program.cs. As usually, program.cs starts the application. You see that there is static main. This is like a console. It reminds me of a console, and it creates a new reference of the game 1. So it goes to game 1 and runs the game 1. What is but what is different than in C#, that this is made to make games in. So we see here constructor game 1. It creates some graphics device manager from this. This means that graphics device manager, which is by the way here, is a object that allows you to draw pretty much whatever you want. This is same like, for example, in C# you would have graphics, in system drawing.graphics. But this graphics device manager is much better. It can draw really faster and so on. So graphics. One more difference I would like to tell you. In C# graphics, when you draw a picture, it just draws it, alright, pixel by pixel. But here, this graphics device manager, if he is supposed to draw a picture that is already there, he doesn't draw it because it's already there, or he just draws the pixels that changed. Of course, every single time it's cleared the error, but I will get to it. So graphics device manager that is created from this. That means that it's gonna draw on this window, not on this, but on the window that's gonna be here when I run the application. You see here is a blue something. Yeah. Well, once more, this area, the blue area, the whole blue area, I can't show a cursor there. It may be changed, but yeah. This whole blue area is the area where the drawing is done. Client.root directory is content. This directory works for content. When you want to put in a texture, you put it here inside, and you may access it through the content directory. I will explain that in loading. So this is the constructor. Now the protected override void initializate. This void is run only once. This method runs only once, and it's just initialization. You may add here something that is done only once. So for example, creating a new array. For example, when you've got array, then you write array equals new array, just to not be a null, I mean, or you just go to another classes and use a initializate that is your own void. I will explain it maybe. Yeah, this is just okay, never mind. More important is the load content, which is here. You see here that it's called etc. The load content method is called only once as well. Well, it's not, but it may be called multiple times, but every single time the game needs to load a content, meaning textures, music, fonts, and so on. So all the loading things go here, loading all textures, loading all stuff. Unload content, I never use this because this is run, for example, when you close the application, and then there is no need to really do this, in my opinion. So I never used it. Just, yeah, I don't know. Update. Also really important, void. Here everything that has something to do with update is going on. Let's say that the user moves a mouse, for example, as I move a mouse, and you would like to get the location of the mouse. You would write the code here for getting the location. This is the update method. Update method, just to give you some idea, is called, for example, well, 1,000 times per second or millisecond. I have no idea, but it is called really fast, really a lot. And yeah. Then there is a draw. Draw is a method that allows you to draw something. Basically, we will be working here with sprite batch and drawing the textures and so on. But of course, you may put in draw method getting some location of the mouse. You can do it. But now I will explain you the way how you should write the application in XNA. It's quite harder to understand for beginners, but once you get it, it's really awesome, and yeah, you don't have to worry about anything. Basically, differences between C#. You won't use here points, system drawing point. Instead of it, we've got here vector2. So it's vector2, which is just point. But it accepts two double values, or maybe float values, I'm not sure, which is more exact than int value. So you are able to draw something to more exact spot. Vector3, as I said, I'm just learning to write 3D games at the moment, so this is just a 3D vector. It's a x, y, and z. It accepts three arguments, x, y, z. It's used basically when you are writing a 3D game. Vector 4, I have no idea. Maybe the fourth dimension could be a time or something. I never used it. For 2D games, you will need only vector 2D. So now, just have a look to the update method. Let's say, okay, sorry. First of all, I should put here some texture. So I'll save the project, and I will go to folder where the project is. So it's a first XNA app. And one more thing. When you add a picture or some texture to the application, it is automatically copied here in the first XNA app content, right here, to the content. When you later on click delete, it is deleted permanently and you lost your texture. That's why I save all my textures in bin, debug, and here I create a new folder that is for, I usually name it pictures. So you have something like a backup of your pictures. And yeah, now we need some picture. So I will use a picture from my billiard game. Give me a second. Resources custom, that's it. Pictures and balls. So let's, oh fuck, let's use, this is nice texture. Copy here. In XNA you will need a Photoshop a lot. So really when you are making, for example, a ball textures, you will make it in Photoshop, I think. So always save the Photoshop file to the folder as well, because you will later on might want to change it, make new textures. So that is really good. So now you've got here the ball 9 texture that I want to add to the application. So now here you see first XNA app content, right click in it, click add, and you won't see that here, but there is a new item, existing item, and new folder. When you click the new item, I click on the new item, you are able to add a XML file or effect file or sprite font. XML file is a file with XML code in it, usually used to save levels or something like that, but that's quite a problem. I will explain that later. Effect file, I have no idea. Sprite font, that's really useful. It's a pretty much sprite. You know, in a C#, not in XNA, we used a font that was a property of, for example, label or button. In this XNA, you just have to get a new sprite font and select its properties. So yes, we may select the sprite font, so name it font, add. So you see that there is font.sprite font, and already we've got here a code of the sprite font, which is cool. And let's let's have a look at it. We won't write these shits, just here. You see font name, this is the font name. I don't know really names of fonts, but it could be when you when you go to C#, make a label and go to font style, then you can select that you have a combo box which shows you all the names. You may select it and copy it here. Size, it may be changed, and it is the size. So as you can see, each font has its properties here that you can change. For example, spacing and whether it is regular or bold or italic. This is really cool, so I will leave it like so. Maybe you are asking for color. That is done when drawing, alright? Color is always white. So we go to this, click add, and existing item. Dialog shows up. We go to bin, debug, and wow, god damn it. Yeah, this is it, because we are in XNA, XNA app, first XNA app content. Yes, it automatically puts you into content. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna click on this. So we are now in XNA, we click on this, go to XNA app, not the content. Then to bin, x86, debug, and pictures, and we select the ball, add it. So you see it's here, ball9.png. One more tip for you. This will be really messy. Imagine you will have, for example, 20 pictures and 30 fonts. Yes, believe me, you will have 30 fonts, because if you want to have each font quite different, you will have to make new fonts. So I always make here a new folder when you click add and then new folder, and I name it pictures, and I create a new folder and I name it fonts. So in it you put this, and in it you put this. So now how to load the content. Load content pissed me in past really a lot, because the loading is really different from the C#. So this is really, well, important to know. So when we are loading, we are gonna load the texture, alright, the image. When you are writing a 2D application, you will be using texture 2D object. To make this a little bit easier, I always click on add project, add class, and I create a class and name it textures. You know, when you are writing a game, the code is gonna get longer, bigger, and bigger, and you will then lost in it if you don't make some nice hierarchy. So this is my way of writing the applications. So in this class I will hold all the textures that will be visible for all. So we write public static, and now texture 2D, and you see that we don't see it, and I don't know which library I should use. So I always write texture 2 and big D. So you see big D, and it allows me here to using XNA framework graphics, and off we go. Public static texture 2D, and name it ball texture, and yes, we could also make here a class named fonts. Yes, now it's quite useless because we have only one font and one picture, but this is just to teach you how to really, write the application. So public static, and now sprite, big F font, sprite font. It again gives me a again graphics. Well, and now name it font 1 or whatever. So now we go to game 1 again. We go to load content again, and now we are gonna load it. So we are gonna load the picture, alright? When we are loading the picture, it is gonna return us a texture 2D object. So we go to textures. This is the class we created, alright? Not a texture, this is the class textures, alright? Dot ball texture equals, and now content. You're always gonna use the content because that's the object that holds all the voids or functions to do the stuff. Load, and now you are gonna put here those two characters. It may be done in different way, but I like this one. And between those two characters you always write what you want to load. So when we are loading a picture, it's gonna be a texture 2D. So we write here texture 2D because we are loading a texture 2D. Then opening bracket and string asset name. I now have to make myself sure, because the loading path is just really screwed up. It's quite strange in comparison to a C#. Give me a second, I have to find it here. Well, yeah, got it. So what we are now gonna do is the path to this ball 9 picture. The path is written just, it will be pictures. You see, it's in a folder pictures, so pictures / and ball 9. And you see that there is no .png or some extension. That was the problem I had, because yeah, you can't put in a just extension because it requires an asset name, and when I click on the ball on the picture, there is a asset name, so you just can copy it and paste it here. But it's in folder pictures, so you have to put it there. If it wouldn't be in folder pictures, all we have to do is write ball 9, and that will be it. Now to load the font, so go to fonts, font1 equals, and now you might be able to write it in your own. So content.load sprite font, and the opening bracket, closing bracket, and I just copy this here. So it's gonna be, oh come on, fonts dot no /font. And now if you want to make sure it works, you just press F5, and if it is loaded correctly, no error shows up. Otherwise you would get a runtime error. So now we've got it loaded, and now what to do with it. So we move on to the draw method, and now comes a quite interesting thing. You remember when at the beginning I explained you the graphics device manager graphics, and the sprite batch. The graphics, we won't really be interested in it at the moment. You may resize the window later on, but yeah. But the sprite batch is vital, because this is the graphics object that draws pretty much everything you want. So what we are going to do to write here a sprite batch. And now have a look inside. We've got here begin, dispose, disposing, draw string, and equals, and so on. When we want to draw something, we have to begin first. That is something like initialization. It initializes the sprite batch, and maybe makes some space in memory. Yeah, maybe, I have no idea. And then we write sprite batch dot end. Those two are really important, and between you might draw. So sprite batch dot draw. And now you can see here are really 7 overloads. That's really a lot. It really depends on what you want to draw and how you want to draw it. So it doesn't really matter, we will draw the texture anyway. So we go to textures dot ball texture. So you see how it's easy. You just loaded it there, you've got it there. Then rectangle, destination rectangle. Okay, first of all, if you would use this overload and put here the destination rectangle, it would draw the picture to the rectangle we put there. So the picture might be resized. When we would use the second overload, where it's just the vector to position, it would write it on the position we put here, but it won't resize it. It will draw it only in the original size. To be honest, creating pictures in Photoshop of the size that will suit your application, that is quite a bullshit. So what I always do is use a rectangle. There is a bad thing that really rectangle is int, you know, x is int, y is int. But vector2 is a double, so it will be more exact position. So when you use the rectangle, you won't be able to draw it on more exact position. But this is just philosophical idea, because in real life you wouldn't really be able to see the difference with your eye. So we write a new rectangle, and now the x and y position. Let's say I select here 50-50 width. Let's say 50-50 as well. It will be a nice square. Color. This is quite important. When you write a color dot white, it is gonna be the original texture. But when you write any other color, what is gonna happen? That the sprite batch is gonna tint the texture with the color you choose. I will open the ball here in this, alright? Please notice one thing, that here are white things, alright? And that's because I open it up in a shitty program that can't really recognize the file. I usually use a PNG files. You might be able to put in pretty much all files, I think, but most of them. But why are PNG files awesome? Because you may use a transparency. You see here the white corners. This pretty much is not in the picture. That is blank, in fact. There is nothing. So it is gonna draw just the ball and nothing, no edges, nothing. So this is really important when you are making the game, because transparency is really common here. Because you don't want to draw a square with a ball inside, you want to draw just the ball inside, and that's it. So imagine a situation that this picture would have a white dot inside. Basically, if you might put here a color dot black or something like that, the white spaces on the picture would be changed to the color you wish. But if you write here white, there is a original texture drawn. When we run the application, you see that there is a ball. To show you how the tint pretty much works, I will go to my trusty snooker project. I go to pictures. God damn it. Bin debug resources. Yeah, pictures. And you see that well, pretty much in the game I wanted to make a shadows. This is the ball shadow that is drawn just over or under the ball pretty much every single time. And there is a light source. You see, hopefully you see that, but you see the transparency around. It's a white shadow with a transparency around. This is used because it's white, and I then just type to tint it to yellow or orange, and it is then yellow or orange, which is really good. You can change the light source, the color of the light source. To be honest, do not rely on this feature because when it is used, this may be used only when you want to have really big range. For example, if you want to have a picture and user may select the color of the picture, then it is really awesome. But to make all the pictures white and just tint them, that's a bullshit, because Photoshop can do it every single time better than this. Alright, so now you see that it is drawn, but we want to make it move. Maybe you see that there is the location, how the movement works. Pretty much you are gonna create here a structure, because you might write here a 4 variables like x, y, width and height, but it will be so messy. So I always create a structure, public struct, ball struct, and you might put here the variables you wish. So let's say that we want to make the ball only move, not change its width and height. So I'm gonna write here public static int x and y. Please notice that int has default value 0, so I don't have to worry about the default value. Now to change it, we will write here, instead of the 50x, we will write bold struct dot x, and instead of y, we will write bold struct dot y. So now when I run it, it should be 0, 0, which pretty much is at here, and it is not still moving. So now how to do the movement? You might do it in the draw method, but that's not good idea. Draw method is used to do drawings only. Update method is used to make updates only. Why? Well, first of all, I will write the update, alright? So let's say that I wanted to move by the pressing up, left, right and down arrow on the keyboard. To do this, we are gonna make here a keyboard state. To get the input, we write a keyboard state. Oh god damn it. Keyboard state. What is it? Well, sorry, I will put it into the bold struct because it So what is the keyboard state? That is a well, pretty much the state of the keyboard actually. So it contains keys that are pressed, keys that are released, and yes. So now we go to update, and we have to refresh it. So we go to bold struct dot and state equals, and now it's done. You get the object by going to keyboard dot get state. It might be same with mouse. Just to show you how the mouse works, it's pretty much same. Public static mouse state. Well, I will name it mouse state, and this one I will name a key state. Alright, so we've got key state, mouse state. I have to change the name here. Bold struct dot key state is keyboard dot get state. Bold struct dot mouse state equals, and now mouse dot get state. That's it. Nothing really hard. Yes, and now we've got the state. But what to do with it? Just pretty much nothing. I will just show you how it works. I will now focus on a key state, alright? So bold struct dot key state, and now we see here is a get pressed keys that gets an array of keys, key really that are pressed at the moment. Is key down? Well, that's when someone holds the key. You might go to is key down and then check, for example, key.a, and if yes, then you might change the location or do something like that. So is key up? That's when the key is released. Now this is quite tricky thing, because handling those events is really tricky, and you have to find the system. So let's say that when I press the right arrow, the location of the ball will increase by x by 5, for example. So if is key down, keys dot right, that might be the arrow, and of course we have to put here the if. So if it is if is key down, right, then the bold struct dot x plus equals 5, or maybe 1, because, well, 5. Okay, now we run it and we press right button. Okay, no, the right arrow. So it pretty much works, and it moves itself every single time we press the key. But for example, let's say that you want it to move only when you press and then release the key. This you might need this in some applications, in some games. So just to show you how to do this. So yes. Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay. So let's say that I want, if I press the right arrow key, and then when I release it, I want it to move when I release it. This is quite more interesting, and it might be in mouse, for example, when you click on it when you release the button, but just to well, have the idea. For this we will need two key states logically, because we need previous state and current state logically to compare the differences. So we will write here key state and key state. I'm tired. Key state, we might write previous, but I always write pre because it's short and I know what I meant. So now, sorry, update method. So both_struct.keyState is keyboard.getState. So now in the key state would be the current keyboard state, but we want the previous state. So this might be quite more tricky. Let's think about it. When the application starts, key state previous and key state is nothing. So when the update is called, we get the actual state to key state because that is actual. But also we need something for the key state previous. So key state previous is gonna be the both_struct.keyState, and then the previous one, and then the key state gets a new value, and this is how it works. When the application starts and both are 0 or null, it doesn't really matter because just doesn't really matter. The previous state would be nothing, but the application is so fast so that it loops through this even before you just manage to press the key, so no null reference should be fired. So both_struct.keyState is key down right, and both_struct.keyState, well, I will write here dot keyState previous is key down right, and keyState dot is key up keys dot right. So what is gonna happen here? This is gonna proceed only when you just release the key that was pressed. So now just check it. I now hold the key and now I press it and it moves. So you see I have to press the key multiple times to make it move. But this might be useful in mouse, as I said, because when you click on a button, because you will be making your own buttons, so when you click on a button you want to fire the event only when you just release the mouse button. So this will be exactly the same with the mouse state. Just to show you how the mouse state works, it's really simple. You go both_struct.mouseState dot, and now, wow, key state. I was surprised. Yeah, god damn it. Dot mouse state dot, and now you might choose left button, middle button, right button. So usually you want a left button dot, and now you write equals, and now button state pressed or released. So if the left button is pressed or released, and then you can do stuff you want. So this is it. So now you got a location X, and pretty much to show you the idea of the XNA, the update pretty much just changes the variables. and the draw just draws texture according to variables. You might say, alright, I might take this all and put it into the draw method. Why can't I do it? Well, you can do it, but the draw method, in my personal opinion, I'm not sure whether it is really so, but the draw method is called little bit less times than the update method, and the update method is called really multiple times because it's supposed to do more work than the draw method. Of course, you might be drawing dozens of effects and textures, but as I said before, if there is some pixel that is already on the window, it doesn't draw it. You see here is graphics device.clear color.cornflower blue. This clears the entire window with a color you want. So if I write it a black, it will be a black. Wow, something is wrong here. Yeah, here is ISKI up, so I should write ISKI down. My bad. So this is it, and this draws. Now I will go ahead and explain you something about the logic and the hierarchy of writing the code, because that's really vital. Let's say that I want to make a just movement of the ball. That would be really bad if I would do it like so. For every single stuff you want to draw, you are gonna create a new class, because that's gonna make your life easier. So let's make it ball move class. Well, name it class to make it sure. So ball move class, and we've got here the class. What we are gonna do, we are gonna go to game 1, take the ball struct, cut it off, and pretty much go to the ball move class and put it inside. In game 1 we are going to take this, well, not yet. We are gonna go to ball move class, and we are gonna write here public static update, well, void update. It may be whatever name of the void you want to, but I always name it update because it's nice, clear, and you know what it is supposed to be. Copy this one and paste it under it, name it draw. And for this we will, yeah, that's it. We've got it. For the draw method we will need a sprite patch. Sprite patch. Sprite. I always name it sprite, I don't know why. And we implement it. So now we've got it some update void, some draw void. Now bear with me, this is gonna be quite harder, alright? You won't maybe see what I'm doing, but in the future you will realize what I wanted to say. So I will write here a mouse state, and the real idea is that from the game 1 we will call this and parse here a previous mouse state, and we will parse here a actual mouse state, which will be mouse state mouse. Oh fuck this. Mouse state mouse. The same thing will be done for key state, previous key, and keyboard state, key state. Oh fuck this. So yes, and this is it. Now we're gonna go to error list and go here, copy all of these, cut it off, and go to ball move class and paste it here. We are referencing to ball struct.keyState previous. We might delete those because we no longer need it, and we might refer only to these that are parsed here. I'm sorry for this because I did a mistake. I copied these like when I'm getting the key state and the mouse state as well. I copied it, well, I cut it off and I put it to game 1 again, game 1, So you see that now we are referencing to bootstrap. I deleted because, and now I'm gonna create here a public static. Well, let's write private static key keyboard state key previous key state, which will be the actual state really of the keyboard. Now a mouse state, mouse previous, mouse previous, and mouse state. So those are private, they are static. So what is gonna happen here, I'm gonna give them a value. So key previous is key state, this one, and key state is keyboard.getState, and mouse previous, here, and mouse previous will be mouse state. It's just the same thing. You might ask, why am I parsing it then to the update method if I can access it by the game one? This is just my personal opinion that it is just clearer, because when I go to the ball move class, I've got it here already. All I have to do is write previous mouse and I've got it. But if I would have to write game one dot previous mouse or mouse state, it would be longer and quite more confusing in my opinion, really. So now here to the update. Alright, I write a ball move class dot and now update, and I fill in all of these. So previous mouse will be mouse previous variable, mouse state will be mouse state, and keyboard previous keyboard will be key previous, and keyboard state will be key state. Now you've got it. All we did that we now have it in this nice class where there are no comments, no other stuff like initializate, load. We've got it, we see it here, it's nice, and we can move on to making some movement and effects. So now we are gonna examine the key state that arrived here. So if key state.isKeyDown, we're gonna change the X of this. Now you might notice that we now are here trying to refer the bootstrap.x. So what we are gonna do is to go to ball move class.draw, and we are gonna parse it the spread batch. Please notice that it is between the spread batch begin and spread batch.end. So later on, when we are in the voids there, we don't have to worry about the begin and end. We just draw and it's done. You might say, alright, this is good, but I might draw this and refer to the ball move class and the location. Yes, you might, but honestly, what will you do if you would have 5-6 classes like so? Then you will lose yourself in code. So this is nice and clean way how to write this. So we go to draw method again and copy it here. So spreadbatch.draw. Sprite.draw. New rectangle, we import here the XNA framework, and that's it. We are referencing to the bootstrap.x, which is here, and it is changed by this update method. To make this a little bit more interesting, we are gonna add here more if clauses, more conditions. So if key state.isKeyDown keys.left, then the bootstrap x is gonna be -5, and if isKeyDown keys.up, then the bootstrap.y, and this is quite interesting. Just follow my cursor now. Usually we've got here y and here is a x when we are, for example, drawing a graph in a school or something like that, and we are in the first quadrant. But in the application here we are in the fourth quadrant, so here is x and here is y. So if we want to make it to move up, we are gonna make the y smaller, in my opinion. I'm not sure, we can try that. And if the key is key dot down, then it's gonna increase. So now just check it. You see it works. I can move with it pretty much freely by even combining the keys, which is pretty cool. And that's it. Of course you might do whatever you want. You might make a character, make it shoot, kill some enemies. This everything is possible. One more thing, well, if I would have to explain how to make a game, it would be really dozens, thousands hours long video. And yes, one more thing I want to say, that is, yes, I could explain you how to draw a sprite font. So what you are gonna do is to write a sprite dot drawstring, and you are gonna use a sprite font. So we are gonna go to our class font dot font1, and the text, for example, hello, and the vector to position. Let's make it more interesting. Let's say that I want to draw it just under the ball. So that would be really easy. We are gonna write a new vector 2. It will be an x, well, a ball struct dot x, and the y location will be ball struct dot y plus the width plus the height of the texture, which is here 50, and the color. You see, you know that the string is always white. So if I would write now, whatever color you choose, that color will it have. So I want a light coral. Now I write it, now I run it, and you see that it is drawn under the ball. Well, it might be lagging because the hypercam 3 I'm recording this with is yeah, but in real life the movement is really smooth and nice, so don't worry. So you see that we are even able to go off the window, which can be done by writing there another conditions, which might be quite simple in my opinion. And that's it. One more thing, you might want to have a saves or something like that for your game, as I have in my snooker game, where you can have an account which has its own money and so on. All people on internet are saying like, okay, use a XML file that you add here by the window. It might be possible, but there is one problem, because all these things that are in a content cannot be changed. They are there in the application. So if you get a money for the user, you can't change it in a file. I won't really make complete tutorial for saving and loading the stuff, but I will just give you an idea how to do that. How I did it was that I created just, you see, here is 0.player. It's just a normal file with a extension player, so no one can open it. There is just plain text inside. There is a hash of the application. There is a name of the account, bought queues, there are indexes of bought queues, and there is index of equipped queue. There is also money that the user has and the medals he owns. A medal chain, pretty much. You see that it looks like a XML or HTML, but this is just normal text, and this is just my way how I parse the information from it. You might have on first line hash, you might have on second line try and host the name, you might have on third line whatever you want, but it's not really safe if something screws up. And you can even, like this, change the way how it's written. Just to show you how to do that, this will be final thing, then I will end this. You are gonna be using our trusty system.io. We know from the C#, so system.io, and now there you go. You can do whatever you want. You can make files, write to files, check for files, create directories, and chill out. That's it. One more thing, I recommend you to create a class for saving and loading, and really keep the code organized. Yes, and this is it. Hopefully it helped you, and yeah, see you next time. You can always subscribe. I would appreciate it. Yeah, so bye.